Welcome back. So this session we will see different functions of session layer. The layer which present between the transport layer and the presentation layer in noisy reference model. So from the name itself we can guess that the session layer is regarding some sessions between two different applications, right? Yeah, the session layer is responsible for establishing, managing and synchronizing sessions between two different applications. Just for example, let's take the case of a web-based application. So we are trying to logging into the web-based application using our username and password. So authentication of this user credentials is done by the session layer, and the access to that web application will be permitted for only valid users. And suppose after getting into or after logging into that application, our connection is lost. In that case, session layer will re-establish the corresponding connection. So as a part of the session management, the session layer performs three different operations: dialog control, token management and then synchronization. Dialog control in the sense it allows two systems to enter into a dialogue. Just for example, suppose the corresponding media is half duplex. In that case, only one of the process can access the channel at a time, right? So whose turn is next? That is decided by the session layer. And in the case of second functionality, that is token management, using some tokens, this session layer manages the activities like common or critical data operations done by different processes. So in such critical operation, only one of the process will be allowed to manipulate or modify the corresponding common data, right? So using some token, the session layer will provide mutual exclusion for such critical operations. And the next functionality is synchronization. So the session layer achieves the synchronization using checkpoints. Some synchronization information will be inserted in between the data received from the presentation layer. Okay, so we can see the benefit of inserting these checkpoints using an example. Just for example, a system is sending a file, a very large file, say 2000 pages are there. And the system is inserting a checkpoint after every 100 pages. So benefit of inserting these checkpoints is that for every 100 page unit, the sender will receive an acknowledgement from the receiver that it received this 100 page unit successfully without any problem. Okay, for every 100 page unit, it receives an acknowledgement independently from the receiver. So suppose there is a crash in between the transfer. Say after transferring 522 pages, there is a crash. So we have to retransmit the entire pages, right? Instead of retransmitting from page 1 to 522, if we are using these checkpoints, we need to retransmit only from page 501 to 522, right? Because we have already received a confirmation from the receiver that 1 to 500 pages are already received successfully. Okay, so we need to transmit from 501 to 522 only. So this is the benefit of using this synchronization information. So thereby we can reduce the time, transfer time and bandwidth. The next layer is presentation layer. So you can guess what can be the functions of presentation layer, right? Yeah, make the information presentable. So presentable to whom? Of course, at the sending side, takes the information from the sending process, then make it presentable to the network. And at the receiving side, receive the information from the network, make it presentable to the receiving process. That is done by this presentation layer. So as you know, the presentation layer is in between the application layer and session layer, right? It attaches a header with the data received from the application layer, then provide to the session layer at the sending side, and the reverse in case of receiving side. That is, take the data from the session layer, remove the header part and provide it to application layer. In between, lot of conversions are done on this data to make it presentable. So we can see what are the different steps to be done to make the data presentable, or what are the requirements which urge for such conversions. So specific responsibilities of presentation layer are translation, encryption and then compression. These are the different operations made on this data to make it presentable. So let us see one by one. First one is translation. So why we need a translation between sender and receiver? As you know, the sending machine and the receiving machine may be of completely different hardware and software, and they may use complete a different encoding scheme to represent their data. Just for example, for representing their characters, the sender may use some code like EBCDIC code, whereas the receiver may use some other code like ASCII code. In such case, if the sender directly communicates the data, the receiver may not be able to understand the meaning of this data, right? Interpretation will not be correct. So some sort of translation is required between the sender and receiver, and that is done by the presentation layer. So what the presentation layer at the sender will do is, it will convert or translate the sender's format into some common format. Okay, and that translated data will be transferred over the network, and at the receiving side, the translation software present in the presentation layer of this receiver will convert this common format into the receiver's format. That is done by the presentation layer. And the next operation is encryption and decryption. So as you know, the information passed over the network may be confidential, right? It should be able to access only by the intended recipient alone. Just for example, if you are doing some online banking transaction, no other third party should be able to access our information, right? So we should protect the information in some method. So that is done by this presentation layer. So at the sender side, what it will do is, the presentation layer will convert this information into some other form, protected form. So the data from the user is called plain text, and we will convert that into some other form using encryption method. So we have a lot of algorithms to convert this plain text into ciphertext. Okay, encryption algorithms are there, and basic technique is that we have a public key and private key. Okay, public key is used to convert into ciphertext. This data, even if the intruder is able to access it, that intruder will not be able to interpret the corresponding correct information. Okay, it will be in some other form. Okay, and anyone who is having a public key can convert this plain text into ciphertext, and the reverse, only the intended recipient will be able to do. That is the decryption, that is converting back the ciphertext into plain text, can be done only by the process which have the private key. Okay, and only the intended recipient will have the private key. That is a specialty here. So a key exchange also will be done between the sender and receiver. A lot of algorithms are there to generate the key also, that we will see later. Okay, so at the receiver side, the presentation layer will decrypt, that is convert the ciphertext into plain text using the recipient's private key. So what the information passed over the network will be the ciphertext alone, the converted form alone. So even if the intruder is able to access it, he will not be able to interpret it. That is encryption and decryption. And the next operation is compression. Let us think about some multimedia data. We have to transmit some audio file or video file. So size may be very large, right? It consumes a lot of bandwidth in the network. So how to reduce the size of this data before transmitting? For that we can use the compression techniques. So at the sender side, the presentation layer will convert or reduce the size of this data using compression techniques, and at the receiver side it will be restored back. Just for example, if you are taking case of audio file, if you are transmitting over the network in AIFF format and all, the size is about 86 MB, right? Just for example. And if you are reducing it, compressing it using and converting it to format like MP3, the size is just 9 MB. So almost 1/10 of the size of the original file, right? So thereby we can reduce the bandwidth consumption by this transform. Okay. So different techniques are there for this compression. It can be either lossy data compression and lossless data compression. So if you are using a lossy compression, the problem is that some of the data will be lost while doing the compression. So even if you are restoring back at the receiver, the quality may be compromised. Whereas in case of lossless data compression, all the data will be preserved. So at the receiver side, when we restore back, we can get the original quality as that of the data sent by the sender. This is compression techniques. So these three different operations are done on the data for making the data presentable to the system. That is done by the presentation layer. Now we are in the topmost layer of our network software, right? That is application layer. So this is the layer through which the user interact with the network. So whatever service required by the user, this application layer provide a interface for the same. Just for example, it provides services such as email, remote file access, remote file transfer, shared database management. Whatever services are required by the user from the network, corresponding to each type of service, this application layer provides a separate interface. So here you can see different services provided by the interface like X.500 corresponds to directory service. So if a user want to access different remote directories, this service can be used. Like that FTAM, file transfer and management. So remote files can be accessed, transferred and managed using this FTAM service. And X.400 corresponds to email protocol. So email services can be accessed over this service X.400. So specific responsibilities of application layers are network virtual terminal. A remote machine can be accessed over a local machine using this network virtual terminal. Then file transfer, access and management can be done. Mail services can be done. Directory services can be done. So as a summary, the user interacts with the sending machine over the corresponding service required. Depending on the application to be interacted on, the corresponding interface will be active in the application layer. A header also will be attached with that, and that data will be passed over to the next layer, that is presentation layer. Presentation layer will convert this into some other form using translation, then encryption, then compression, right? A header also will be there. This will be passed over to the session layer. Session layer also will attach some header and some synchronization points will be included, and token management techniques will be implemented. So that will be passed over to transport layer. Transport layer will divide the entire data into different segments according to the network capacity, and some header part like port number, sequence number of different segments will be attached with every segment, and that will be passed over to the network layer. So in the network layer, each of the segment will be treated as a separate packet by attaching a separate header, right? So the IP address of the sender and receiver will be attached with every packet, and that will be passed over to the data link layer. Data link layer will attach its own header and trailer part with every packet. That will contain some error flow information like checksum, right? And also the header part will contain the address, the MAC address of the sender and the receiver, and that will be passed over to the physical layer, where this entire data packet or the data frame will be treated as a sequence of bits, and that will be transmitted over the media, and the reverse happens in the receiver side. So that's all about ISO IC reference model. The next session we can see the TCP IP reference model in detail. Thank you.